Thank you, listeners. It is a Tuesday, and thanks for joining us for our Elko Live program today. We're always pleased to feature our Elko City guest, and she has brought a star lineup today. Our city manager, Jan Baurm, accompanied by our city fire chief, James Johnston, and he's introducing the new deputy fire chief for the city of Elko. Jan, I'm bringing Joel Finley today. So
yes, we're excited to welcome Joel Finley. He's already been with the fire department for some time, and we've been fortunate to have him and his skill set, and now he's moving into the deputy chief position. So we're excited to introduce Joel Finley.
Thank you for bringing him today, Jan, and we're going to dive into that and, of course, get some fire department news here coming up. But first, we thought we would get a rundown from you. Not only is the city council meeting this afternoon in regular session, that's at 4 o'clock today, and it's got a lot of busy work on there. I think it's safe to say.
Yes, it's a lot of busy work. You're right. I think that we'll have a couple exciting updates, one from Nevada Health Centers and one from Vitality Unlimited. When we had the extra funds freed up as a result of the ARPA grant, the city council extended both Nevada Health Centers and Vitality Unlimited funds for behavioral health in our community. And so we're excited to get an update on that. They've both had one good year under their belts on with these funds, and we're excited to have that update. I think it's just so important to our community as a whole, and they kind of are approaching behavioral health in two different ways, and so it'll be great to have an update from the two of them.
Well, thank you, Jan. And I know the city council appreciates it, and I know the community does too, to get these follow-up appointments, if you will, just to kind of see how, checking in anytime you use public resources or taxpayer dollars, it's really important to the community because they feel ownership and stewardship too. And
absolutely, and they need to have the benefit. And I'm hopeful and confident that these two organizations are going to provide that for our community.
Yep, making a big difference with Nevada Behavioral Health Centers, Nevada Health Centers, and then Vitality Unlimited. So they'll both give updates right at the top of the agenda today. So that is something important to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And then I know you had some reminders too about some things that are upcoming.
Yes, and so we just have a couple public service announcements in a sense. First of all, the water restrictions, the annual water restrictions. It seems kind of interesting that we'd have water restrictions when we've had so much moisture, but we all know we'll be moving into the summer and the moisture will decrease. But so June 15th, the water restrictions will be implemented, and odd numbered addresses will water on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and even numbered addresses Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if we can try to not water during the hottest time of the day, evening and morning watering is best. So we just want to mention that. And then the landfill price increase. We've talked about this several times, but July 1st is coming up, so I want to make sure that everybody is aware that July 1st, the price increases will go into effect at the landfill. And then the flight schedule. So the flight schedule for the Elko Regional Airport will have some changes July 6th. And the main schedule will be that the flight will leave at 2:30, which we are hopeful will still be early enough that they meet the 5 o'clock bank in Salt Lake if they have a connector. And a couple days will remain at the noon flight out. Anyway, so there will be a small change. We're hoping that that's not too impactful to the community and continue to fly Elko.
Yeah, we are still waiting for the dust to settle with the Nevada legislative session and the second special session that's drawn out. They're considering Oakland A's stadium funding, and that is the benefit for Las Vegas, Jan. But we heard good things from our local lawmaker, Assemblyman Burt Gurr, about our air service development bill. Just wanted to check in with you and see if you heard the same.
Yes, so the bill Some of the funding that was included in the bill was taken out, which was disappointing for the city of Elko, but there is still the AIP match funding that will be part of the bill. So the bill continues to have $1 million each year for AIP funding, or the match funding, which is great for the city of Elko, and we would qualify for that if we put in applications for that. So for example, the ramp project that we will be doing next summer, that has quite an AIP match. It's going to be a $7 to $10 million project. So the city is responsible for 6.25% match on those federal projects, and so that portion of the bill, which was primarily Bert Gehrer that put that portion in, and so thank you to Bert Gehrer. And anyway, so yes, we're thankful that that bill is going forward. We were a little disappointed that some of the funding was pulled out of it, but looking at the positive side, we're happy about that.
And that is good news, as you mentioned, Jan. And so it does sound like the council will be asked, though, to maybe consider continuing the revenue, the service guarantee, the flight service?
The minimum revenue guarantee. And yes, we'll continue with that. I believe we'll have a contract coming to council for the third quarter of 2023, either the next council meeting or the first council meeting in July. But it'll be very similar to the minimum revenue guarantee that we have currently.
All right. And that's been about $1 million every 3 months or so, or maybe not that much?
Yes, it's actually the contract is approximately $365,000 a quarter. So annually about $1.4 to $1.5 million.
Okay. And we do know that there have been talks kind of behind the scenes, Jan, with county officials and with mining folks to maybe see if other people can pitch in?
Yeah, so we're in the process of setting up a nonprofit, the Air Alliance. Right now, honestly, we have a lot of the paperwork drawn up. We just need to settle on a name. And yes, the county has been working with us, and so it's wonderful that they're going to be part of that project. And so the idea of the nonprofits Air Alliance will be to have an organization that promotes and not only pays. It'll be an organization where companies and nonprofits and governmental entities that have a lot of interest, or that the regional airport is very important to them. It'll be a place for them to gather, and then we'll conglomerate, that's a word, but the funds to pay for the minimum revenue guarantee. And so that'll come out of the city responsibility and go to this nonprofit. And yes, the county is fully on board with us on that. The airline commercial air service is so important to this community, anywhere from education to medical care. I mean, we have people that are very sick and they have to drive 3 to 4 hours each way. And so commercial airline service is so important. So medical care, education for our commercial companies in the area, and even just to get economic development in our area. So NNRDA is on board as well. So hopefully we can all work together to promote and keep commercial air service in Elko.
That sounds great, Jan. Thank you for the update. We know our airport manager, Jim Foster, has been working hard on that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Jim is so diligent.
So many thanks to you, Jim, for your efforts as well. Let's see. And, another public service announcement about people soliciting, right?
Yeah, so we have some reports that there is somebody out there going door to door asking for people's information, resident information regarding their water. They go saying that they're part of the water department, and then they're asking for personal information. And we just wanted to make sure that the public is aware the city of Elko does not have water personnel going door to door asking for personal information. That absolutely does not happen. If residents need services or anything to do with their water, they come to us, and we don't ever go door to door asking for information. So we want to make sure that the public does not give any information to people going door to door.
And also, just to add to that, I know in our neighborhood recently, police were called to a report of folks rummaging through trash cans.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and often what they're looking for is personal information, paperwork, so make sure you shred all of those documents.
Absolutely. That's a great thing to mention. Always shred those personal documents or different information that comes in the mail with your personal information.
Jan Baum is our Elko City Manager. We're getting an update in city news in advance of this afternoon's regular council meeting, and those creepy, crawling crickets are edging closer to city limits. In fact, I guess they've arrived, right, Jan?
They have arrived. I did a little drive-by this afternoon, and so we are seeing crickets in the city limits. They're obviously hatching on state or public lands, and they're moving into the city. And the city cannot bait or spray people's private property. So, but we just want to know they're awful. We all know they stink. They're gross, but. And so there are a few neighborhoods that are seeing a lot of cricket activity, and if the streets get real slick or corroded, for sure the street sweeper will be by. And I went last week to the county commission meeting where Jeff Knight with the Nevada Department of Ag gave a report, and he said one of the best ways for them to fight the crickets or deal with the crickets is for him to get public information on where people are seeing a lot of crickets or outbreaks or things like that. And so his name is Jeff Knight, and he's with the State Department of Ag, and he publicly gave his phone number and cell number, and his phone number is 775-353-3767, and his cell is 775-848-2592. And anyway, they were here last week, did some baiting and some spraying out on state and public lands, but they're the same as us. They can't spray or bait on private lands. So they were here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week doing some baiting and spraying, and I don't know what his schedule is or if he'll be back, but if there are large outbreaks, please feel free to report those.
Well, thank you, Jan. Jan Baum is our city manager. And again, just a reminder, if you're new to crickets, they're not poisonous. They don't bite. They are, it's alarming to see them like that in masses, but they do come and go. They go in waves, and then eventually they move on. They are destructive to lawns and to some landscaping and can be detrimental to agriculture. So they are a concern, but they
Absolutely.
Are something that we've unfortunately come to live with. So
yes,
yeah.
And we're just having a bad hatch year.
Yes.
And so we'll give a little more information today at the City Council, have a small presentation about crickets and how to fight the crickets or try to deter the crickets. Anyway, they're pretty harmless, so they're just gross. So.
Yeah. Individually, they can be fascinating, but in mass like that, they're made of it's horror movie stuff. So, under unfinished business, we can just mention this in passing, Jan, that there will be an update regarding the city's progress after many complaints from neighboring residents and businesses about 837 Idaho Street as a public nuisance.
Yes, our code enforcement person, Kirsten, will be giving an update on just on that Elko in public nuisance.
All right, that'll be all on the agenda and much, much more. There'll be some discussion about steering some public resources against some ARPA money on public improvements, including water and water infrastructure primarily, Jan, which, I mean, it could be really exciting because that means there could be growth in places like Exit 298 or or Mountain City Highway north of Elko.
Absolutely. And with ARPA, in order for projects to be approved or qualify for ARPA projects, they had to be primarily water projects is what the council chose. And not only, honestly, the development is kind of a secondary positive to some of these projects, but primarily they are providing second source water for different communities, or higher water pressure, which is a concern on the south side of town and by the hospital. So these are exciting projects. And then Exit 298, that also, which Chief can talk to, the water pressures there need to be increased as well for fire safety, and also second source. So we're excited for 298 to have additional water resources as well.
Thank you, Jan. Jan Baum is our city manager, and that's a perfect segue over to our city fire chief, James Johnston, and our new deputy chief. And if you want, you could probably use that. I was just thinking about that. We're switching microphones a little bit to accommodate. There you go. Hi, welcome, Chief.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
Great. It's always a pleasure to meet with our fire chief, James Johnston, and you're really settled into this new role. In fact, you, after an extensive search and a lot of reflection and review, you've picked a qualified candidate to be your sidekick, if you will.
Yep. So driver operator 2, Joel Finley, was promoted to deputy chief, and he fit all the qualifications. He went before a board and shined above everybody, and he had great competition too, which was awesome to see. Some really good candidates, well qualified, and Joel did amazing.
Well, thank you, and welcome to the radio program, Joel Finley. So
thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us about maybe your career. I know we determined that you moved here about 12 years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I out of high school, I went through TMCC's fire academy, went to paramedic school, got my associate's degree, and worked part-time at some different fire departments over there, and then moved to Elko and got the full-time job, and been here ever since.
So is firefighting in your family, perhaps? For a lot of people, it's a tradition.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm actually a third-generation firefighter. Yep, my grandpa was a volunteer firefighter with Sparks back when they had volunteers, and then my dad worked for 31 years for the Sparks Fire Department and retired as a division chief. So something very proud to keep that tradition going and do my best.
Well, they must be very proud of you too, Joel, as you're now deputy fire chief. You're still going to be doing operations and on the ground. I mean, you'll still get some firefighting in, although a lot of it's administrative now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe Chief Johnston, if you wouldn't mind saying, what makes a good deputy fire chief? This is an important position for you as you moved into this. This was a rapid transition, very quick, as the former chief retired very suddenly.
Yeah, and one of the things that works to Joel's strength is he's very in tune with the latest training and operational standards that we expect. One of the things that separated him was his relationships with the people in the community, and then also his willingness to work on special projects, which is amazing. And that's really essentially what I expect from the deputy fire chief, a project-driven person that is able to take on new tasks and then put their own spin on things to make it work a little bit better, especially because we're always looking for the new way to do things and to make it a little bit better to deliver to our product to the citizens.
Mm-hmm. And we do know how much people value their emergency services, whether it's EMS. I think you mentioned, having been a paramedic, or at least had that training, Joel?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So obviously in the fire department too, a lot of it's about that tradition and having the support of the other firefighters, right? I mean, that's got to be an important call too, is that you have the support. That's why it's important to sometimes promote from within.
Absolutely, yeah. Succession is super important in the fire service, and so making sure that our guys have the training and know what's expected at that next level, so that we can continue that promoting our guys from within.
So, Chief Johnston, do you have any goals or things emerging for you, maybe becoming more clear? I know last time we talked, we checked in on the Matrix report, and that's probably still a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely. It's been kicked back up, and we're kind of revitalizing, especially because we had such a change in leadership within the city and then within our department. So there's a lot of new additions going to that, which I think will work out the best for us, and we can come up with a better strategic plan in the end. And one thing I expect from Deputy Chief Finley is to grasp our task books. One thing we've been lacking is a specific task book on each engine and then also position. And it's going to be quite an endeavor, but the right person's going to be in there to do it and make sure that each step is followed correctly.
Is the task book, that's part of the maintenance of the engine or the history or?
Basically like qualifications. So anytime anyone touches a piece of apparatus, they should be qualified, licensed, and fully trained. And one of the things that we're going to ensure is that everyone is familiar with that and they've been signed off on each piece of apparatus. And then also their position too, that they're meeting the minimum criteria for their position.
Oh, good. And you're right too in mentioning the matrix is that, as you said, kicking it back, because then it can more accurately reflect current leadership and what's planned going forward. Because if there were things that were suggested in the report, they didn't reflect, the position that you're in now. So it's simply outdated.
Correct. And I never saw any of it before. And I think it's great that they've reached back out and we're getting new information to give them specifically so we have better goals to go off of. And we're looking forward to that because it would be nice to have a third party direct us and say, hey, these are some deficiencies that you guys can work on and get to a better place.
Mm-hmm. Talking with our Elko Fire Chief, James Johnston, and Deputy Fire Chief, Joel Finley, here on the radio show with the City of Elko today. And just wanted to make sure we give you, every chance to talk about some of the ongoing concerns. I know Jan mentioned water, and water conservation is actually important to firefighting within the City of Elko, right? If you were ever to get some sort of major conflagration, I think you need to have all the water supplies that you have.
Yeah, and our ISO rating is pretty low and low is good. Yes. Our ISO rating is fairly low because we have such a great water system. And Dale and his crew have just been an amazing part of our operation because we rely on them. And they always like to let us know that we can't do our job without theirs. And it's very true. And they do a great job of getting the correct pressure and water flows to businesses and new construction. And yeah, they've mapped out a great plan, especially just like with what Jan talked about, the 298, we have some major projects there. Komatsu, which is a huge building, they're adding another phase onto theirs so that the demand is getting higher and higher. And so it takes more infrastructure to make that happen. And they've been doing a great job. I mean, they've met every criteria that we've had to do from the beginning.
Well, in fact, if people listening didn't realize, the fire department is a huge aspect of planning and development and growth within communities. Certainly, fire services evolved so much. We didn't even mention much about medical service, but you are looking at those things like planning, seeing where the city is growing in the future. Often in the past, the fire department was part of the plans review for new projects and developments.
Yeah, and our fire marshal, Jamie Winrod, she's a part of that discussion in every way. She goes to all the planning commission meetings. She's a part of most of the decisions when it comes to what the requirements are for fire planning and how we work. We also have the expertise of WC3, so we have a professional review every plan, which is nice too, because now you have a third party that we can also say that we rely on to verify the exits and the requirements that we have in the city ordinance.
And do you feel pretty good, Chief, going forward working with our local developers? I know in the past, several months, but there were some issues. But again, it's a new day, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things, especially working with the development group, is to sit down and really understand where people are coming from. Understanding their side of the arguments, and then also taking into account life safety. And I know we're very one-sided when it comes to life safety because we'll put all our cards in that basket, especially over a lot. And so it's a good balance, right? It's a good balance to have everyone's opinion, and so that we can come to the table and work everything out.
Yeah, from what I hear too, with the developers and the various departments, when you find that common ground, then you can start to make progress because people really do have similar, if not the same goals. And obviously safety is priority. Yeah,
exactly. And I think one of the coolest things that come out of that is we met with the developers a few times, and then we met with Kathy Laughlin, and she came up with an incentive to try to get sprinklers based on some of the funding. And I thought that was such a win-win. To try to supplement new growth, because we don't want to see vacant buildings either. They don't do any good for us. They sit, and we would love to see people in them in a safe way and safe manner. But I thought that was one of the greatest partnerships is to have a program that helps with ADA and then also with sprinkler systems. That was really cool.
Yes, Kathy is fantastic at her job. She really is. We're so it's so important to have Kathy's perspective and her experience and her work in the private sector, as a builder, then as an architect, as a professional in the community. It's really been nice because people that purchase historic properties, often they feel at a loss. They don't feel like the city's on their side when they are faced with a lot of requirements, Chief, but she can help them work through some of those requirements to understand what it's like to rehabilitate a building or build new.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, and she does, and that was really cool to see how it all worked together, and we came up with solutions for a problem.
Very good. Well, Chief, we could mention, I guess, briefly, too, that our Elko City Fire Department is among the first responders in case of a medical emergency, right? And the status of that.
Sure. So we work side by side with the Elko County Ambulance, and right now we're currently reviewing our protocols, which will be the first time that we actually work off the same set of protocols medically for both the county and the city, which we're really excited about because they have different levels, and we can all work off the same page, so to speak, so that we have the same expectations with each level as we move forward in responding to medicals.
It must be nice to have the local people that we have, and Lee Cabanis now being the county emergency manager. Matt Peterson is our fire protection chief for the county. James, or Chief Johnston, yeah.
Sure, and yeah, Chief McCann with the ambulance and Chief Hassett, all those guys. We sit down and we have a great relationship. I think that's one of the best things that's come within this past 5 years is just rehashing everything out and making sure that we can deliver the best product to our citizens and keep them safe.
Talking with our city fire chief, James Johnston. A lot of people just call you JJ, and it's hard to not do that sometimes. But that's also part of the benefit of being local, right, Chief?
Sure. And one thing I would like to mention is that the NSFA is coming up with the conference, and we're really excited because there's some awesome classes. One of the best things that they're offering is a free class open to anyone in the public who has family and first responders, is a mental health class to help them deal with the transition from work to home. One of the things that they've identified as some problems when it comes to lack of sleep and then also just home problems and the mental health that it kind of doubles on the stress and anxiety. So that includes dispatchers, nurses. We've reached out to a lot of different professions to try to get them involved and have the families there. We're having a specialist from UNR come, and they're going to do that on the 22nd at 1 o'clock in the conference center, that new addition building. So we're super excited about that. And then I'd like to mention how much work Andrew Ostendorf and Jeff Winrod have done volunteering and putting this whole thing on. It's done through our volunteers, which has been, they've worked with our career staff. We have a career firefighter, Tyler Huff, who's going to be doing an extrication class. I'll be doing a command and control class. And then we also have some awesome instructors coming. A keynote speaker, Jeff Buchanan, he's the former chief of Las Vegas City. He's going to be the keynote speaker. He's an amazing speaker. He's very motivated to help the fire service in general. Just an awesome mentor for anyone who would like to listen.
That's the Nevada State Firefighters Association Conference coming to Elko, and you said it's next weekend?
Yep, so it starts on Wednesday of next week, and it runs till Saturday.
Go ahead.
Yeah, anything can be found on their website, too, at NSFA.
Okay. And you're expecting about how many people approximately, would you say?
They're expecting about 175 firefighters, which is quite a boost up from previous years.
And they often bring families, so it's a nice local economic boost, right? Sure,
and they also have family activities for them to do while the firefighters are in class. I think they have a couple of different, I know they have golfing and a couple other like trap and skeet shoot, and I think a lot of activities that they form around it.
Oh, great. So if anybody listening, if you can put out literally a welcome mat, or if you have an electronic billboard like we do here at 1800 Idaho Street, put a message up and just welcome the Firefighters Association, because I don't know when the last time they had their meeting was, their conference here.
I think it was in 2009.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah, we hosted it, yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, quite a different, and the Nevada State Fire Marshals bring in their brand new burn trailer, which hasn't been used, I don't think, at a conference yet. It's brand new. It's state of the art, and we're excited to have our firefighters get some live fire training.
That is fantastic. So it's also nice to see public support. And if you are interested, as you said, I think that mental health class in particular, that will be especially important to a lot of families. So thank you, Chief. I'm so glad you mentioned all those things. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for your good work.
Thanks for having me and Deputy Chief Finley.
Yeah. And Deputy Chief Finley, anything to add? I told you you'd want your own show after this.
No, I thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the support of the city and the department. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to more conversations, and thank you for your good work. It's a wonderful tradition, and our community loves its firefighters and police officers. Don't want to get into a war here. And our emergency medical providers, of course, all of our rescuers. So thank you to city, county, state, all the regional partners that we have. And thanks to you, gentlemen, for helping lead the way and, diversifying the department and also bringing great leadership and talent, recruiting talent, because you're looking for an administrative assistant, I know.
Yeah, so we're looking for an administrative assistant. It opened up this last Friday, and it'll continue till the 26th, I believe, of June. The applications will close. It's a really great opportunity to work in a lot of different areas, support the mission of the Elko Fire Department in many assets. It's a pretty exciting job when it comes to being able to help out and deliver stuff even to City Hall and mix in with the city in general.
Yep, and become part of the team of the city and a valued employee and have a great career ahead. So great pay and great benefits. Look it up online at elkocity.com. You'll find other listings there, including for patrol officers and other positions. So did we get to all the topics today, Jan? I'm hoping so. I don't think we left anything out. Yeah?
I think we did. And I want to mention that I like Chief Johnston mentioning how all of the departments of the city of Elko work together every day, whether it be the RDA, the water department, the fire department, the police department, streets, development. We're all working together all the time for the betterment of our citizens, and we're excited to be one organization here for the citizens.
Well, thank you for your inspiration and leadership, Jan. Our city manager, Jan Baurm, really hearing great things about the work that all of you are accomplishing. And there's so many good new faces and a lot of talent, and that's a good thing. The city needed that, and the county has gone through some of that as well. And all of us need that once in a while. So thank you for the freshening up. And again, welcome to the new employees. And city council meeting is at 4:00 today, and that's at 1751 College Avenue. You can log on to follow along online. I know I watch a lot of meetings that way. It's kind of nice to have my cat sitting in my lap.
Absolutely. And you can also, if you log in and go to the go-to meeting, you can have interaction and comment if you would like. So we just want to be open to anybody.
Thank you. City Council, 4:00 today. Thank you, listeners, for joining us for our radio show, Elko Live, brought to you by the City of Elko.